Here we have Mrs. Roshni Nadar Malhotra. Huge round of applause and welcome on behalf of entire HCL Foundation family, partners. And it is such a pleasure, Roshni, to be in this space. It's my honor. And I would say it's your humbleness that you've been mentoring us, supporting us since we started this mission. In fact, we've been talking, we were just a group of 30 odd partners, and today it's more than 200 plus MOUs, financial, the ones who are in the room here, who are connected, but otherwise the network has gone beyond, 100,000 kind of NGOs with whom we are connected across the country. This is the 7th time we are in this space, Roshni, and we are building upon it year after year. In terms of strategy, in terms of direction, in terms of impact. And this year, the theme of Partnering for Change 2024 is resilience. And we are looking at how resilience is critical for institutions, why it is important, and why we really need to imbibe it as a value. So I'll open the question with that, Roshni, and of course with your opening remarks before we get into resilience. But then, what makes you so resilient, first of all, and why do you think it's such a critical mission that we really need to have? But before that, you would like to open the remarks for all of us.
No, I think, thank you so much for having me here again, and this is truly has grown, but I was just telling Nidhi and Alok and Simi while I was walking in, that Shantanu also, no? Shantanu, you were also there, no? So I was just saying, I think we should move this back to campus, to our HCL campus, and so it doesn't matter if it becomes big. The weather is so beautiful outside, and you guys are all stuck inside all day. So it'll be nice. The campus is beautiful. You can put a pandal and leave it open on the sides or whatever. But I think that regardless of space, it's a big campus. We'll make it work. But I think that you guys we should do this on campus, because then you really get to see the home of HCL Foundation. The home of HCL Foundation is HCL Technologies. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that, experience that. Even if the experience is not first class like this, I think I would prefer if you guys were on campus next year onwards, so you can start thinking of that from now on. And no, I think, like Nidhi said, the partners have grown so much, which is a great validation for us, because that means, we are able to structure, programs with all of you, which are truly meaningful, not just for you, but for us as well. I was just looking at our data points. So, through you, with you, impacting 5.5 million lives, 50,000 plus other animals, domestic animals, 56 billion liters of water, and then how many acres of urban forest? 66,000 acres of urban forest. I mean, there's a lot of tremendous work happening, and then of course the HCL grant itself being present, I think, in all states. Yes. So the breadth and depth of HCL Foundation is truly pan-India, and it's exciting because I think all of you here represent that. So, just keep going. We'll also keep going. We'll keep supporting you and building interesting programs. I think what you realize over time, and especially people like Nidhi, Alok, Shantanu, and so many of you here have been in the development field for so long in your own special areas, is that to shift the needle really takes time. And sometimes, I'm sure in your own organizations, I sometimes feel like this too. Yeah, we've been at it for like 20 years, but why is nothing changing? Why is the needle not changing? And then comes in the theme of your partnership meet, which is resilience. Just got to be resilient and just keep going, because these things take time. And think of it this way: you're not trying to undo certain disadvantages in the world which have evolved over a couple of decades. In many cases, you're trying to undo stuff that has evolved over millennia. So, I mean, it may not happen in our lifetime. So, but that's okay. And we just have to be resilient and just keep going at it. Because you're also setting examples for the new generation that think they spend more time creating impact from behind a screen. And it's called social media. You need to roll out their sleeves a little more and be out there. So, I think that you all are role models. But, I mean, that's what worries me, that the next generation of people are coming, while the awareness, if you look at a graph, the awareness is very high. I think the impact is actually low. So, they know a lot more because they're reading a lot more because of social media. They have higher emotions about it. But really, I think action always is stronger than words. So eventually that's where the rubber hits the road. So good to see you all. Thank you for having me here, and next year onwards on campus.
Great. Thank you so much, Roshni. And as we've been discussing, this has been like, we were just looking at the data. It's 450 of HCL Foundation with close to 3,000 resources on ground through partners. So that's the strength, and we would all love to be together, making it an annual fest. So let's try that next year. Thank you so much, Roshni, for that. Talking about resilience and HCL by itself is a story that stands there, and you've seen it. You've seen it as a young person, and now you are seeing it in the capacity of chairperson of HCLTech. Can you reflect on that and how at each stage it looked different to you, and what lessons can we take as different civil society organizations here?
So in 2026, the HCL group will be 50 years. And so obviously, I mean, I can't even get into Mr. Nadar's head, but you have to think about, I think of his lifetime, and I think that in the world, and I'm sure you can have enough cases, but those number of cases is also a handful when you think of the 8 billion that we have in the world. There are very few people who are able to create institutions and then see them through to success in their own lifetime. Sometimes they get a momentum with a founder, and then they grow sometimes post the founder. So I think that it's so humbling. It's so humbling. And I was just reflecting on HCL, and because we'll be 50 years in 2026, while the business has grown, and whoever tracks HCLTech tracks it every quarter. It's a company. We have revenue targets we have to meet. We have profit targets we have to meet. We have people metrics. You have all these things that you have to meet. But in the lifetime of, I think, any organization, there are only about 4 to 5 inflection points which really change the course of an organization or make something happen. So even at HCL, I feel like since HCL was founded by Mr. Nadar in 1976, and 2026 will be, 50 years, so this year will be 48, I can say that we've only had about 4 to 5 inflection points, and that has not only tested us, and sometimes it felt like, we were just going to not be able to do, or actually told us that we need to course correct or we're going to die, and what it does is, it's not the financial, of course, the big part of the inflection point in that moment is the financial boost it gives you, right? So you get higher profitability, or you sign a deal, or something happens. But I think what it does, which is even deeper, is it changes your culture. It changes the way you think or the way you are. It doesn't change your DNA. In fact, it probably validates your DNA. Or maybe bonks you on the head and say, hello, this is the DNA with which you were born and with which you are supposed to function. Why are you actually changing? So, in HCL's history, because I've now seen it from a younger person to a young person. Abhi old nahi ho gaye. She's a young person, abhi chairperson. Nahi. Younger to young. Abhi thoda sa time hai bhai. But I would say in the HCL HP deal, and that was when HCL used to manufacture computers, so it's not HCL Technologies as it exists today. Our acquisition of the Deutsche Soft captive in India, that helped us actually get into global financial services and get a customer like Deutsche Bank, and that was almost 25 years ago. Our joint venture, and then the ending of the joint venture with HCL Pero, I think that was another inflection point. Our couple of years ago, in 2018, 17 and 18, our acquisition of the IBM products, which opened up our HCL software, and then our recent signing of a mega deal, probably the largest in the industry by any player. It's not the deal. I mean, if you look at the deal value, it's big and that's the size. But, when I hear from our leaders and when I hear from our people, it's how they were pushed to think and contract and deal and create themselves and pivot themselves and change themselves to actually even win that kind of deal. So again, I think that all these created certain cultural shifts in the organization. And in our history of 50 years, that's just 4 or 5 of them. There aren't more. Otherwise, we do very well. Every year you can see our growth and you can see, and uska 2% ka profit CSR mein aata hai, to very good. But, so I think that in all your organizations, as well as in HCL Foundation, I think for us, I believe there are some pivots that really alter, I wouldn't say alter the DNA, but alter the culture and the way you respond. So I think all that is a part of resilientness. So I mean, if, HCL as a group, and along with all the institutions and the foundation which is attached to it, if you have to exist for another 50 plus years, I think that those inflection points are very necessary. And they're not comfortable. The thing about them is that inflection points are uncomfortable and painful. But they basically, I think they change you. And that's important.
Absolutely. And how well said, Roshni, about these turning points, and you meant disruptions in many ways, and how the culture, and 50 years is not a short time, especially in changing era, how India has, and from India to global, and now most of the business being global. So that brings me to another question that, and you mentioned all these deals, and in that CSR has played a role. Where do you see as the chairperson of HCL Tech, CSR taking that? I wouldn't say that it becomes the core, but of course business is business, but how have you seen it contributing, and what would be your expectation? I know the latest Verizon that you mentioned, how everybody teamed up and how it was like, one team, one HCL. But to the NGOs who do work behind the scenes, and there is some element, but how do we really strengthen that and see it as one, rather than a corporate and something which is happening at the civil society level?
So again, I think that, I think how you guys can position yourself and how we try to do it at HCL Foundation, Nidhi knows this because she meets a lot more customers than anybody else, is that where do you go from actually being just a CSR arm to actual social stewardship? And I think that that's very important, right? Today, our company has, I don't know, average age of like 27, 28-year-olds. And like I said, that because there's so much more in social media and they have a very different, context of existence today, the awareness is very high. So, that's one thing that I think that you guys don't have to worry about as much, because today you also have that avenue to create awareness. I mean, Nidhi's been in this field for more than 25, 30 years. Alok's there, Shantanu's there. And all you guys are there. I mean, you didn't have that avenue even 10 years ago. If you had an issue that you wanted to raise, there was no social media the way it's penetrated today that you could even create that awareness. Whether it's Instagram, whatever, So I think that you need to leverage that a lot more if you want to become a lot more than just CSR and some development work that corporates do on the side, and become a lot more mainstream. Is you need to become part of the DNA. You need to become part of the social stewardship. And today I can tell you, I mean, we just came there when I was at Davos at the World Economic Forum. There was a list that came out from Brand Finance, and it said that in professional services, HCLTech was the fastest growing brand. And that was great. But we started reading the article, and I was sitting with Vijay, CVK, our CEO. He kept reading the article, and in the last sentence it was, and C. Vijay Kumar is the most ranked as the highest sustainable CEO, or something like that. Something like that. I think, Ananta, you will know what it was exactly. What was it? It was sustainable CEO. So I looked at him, and his eyebrows went up, because he's like a pure techie. He's awesome, he's amazing, but he's like a techie, and he's just too good. And I put my hand up. I said, give me a high five. So he gave me a high five. I said, you're welcome. and because, it's for the first time, I think, that he felt, as an individual, a sense of validation for the fact that we all are doing whatever we are doing, and I'm so glad it came from someone external. And then he said, I'm the only CEO who's involved in that water resilience and some of the stuff in the US, and we've now started America's grant and all that stuff. So I was telling him, I said, see, now your context is global, right? And it matters, and you feel good. So, I think, so when he's gotten recognized, then I feel that our CSR and social has now gone a little into social stewardship. It doesn't need me to be recognized non-stop. It's about other leaders who lead the organization also to start getting recognized. And I'm telling you, even today, we won that big deal that we won. I spent time with the leader of that division, business division, who actually awarded us the deal. And the first thing he said is, I've got 2 daughters, and I'm all about STEM, and I don't care what my daughters do, but I've told them they need to study, they need to educate, and they need to study STEM. He's not talking to me about deal, contract, हम क्या काम करेंगे, कहाँ जाएंगे, कैसे पैसा आएगा, कैसे billing आएगा. He was talking about this. He's not talking, he might be talking about this because he knows that maybe that is more of my area of interest. But he's also talking about it because he thinks he's partnered with the right organization where we value, gender equality, early childhood, education, pushing more girls into STEM, doing a lot more. So I think these things play a big role now, So I think that all I can say is, for all of you, you have a larger role to play. I think you guys need to morph yourselves a little bit, to not think of yourselves like, अच्छा आप लोग development काम करते हैं. Say, नहीं, हम आपका DNA improve करते हैं भाई. So you have to like, थोड़ा सा वो करना पड़ेगा.
Absolutely, and this is how the whole image, I think we see a lot of hesitation at times. In fact, in our project proposals we talk about, and there's this whole thing about client engagement. And we say it's not engagement, it's partnership, because recently there was an incident and one of our clients was visiting and they had their entire leadership with us, and you know, the marketing team decided that they'll paint Madhubani with us. And you know how Madhubani, yesterday I was wearing that. So it has this, you know, it has pre-painted. So we had done that and they were trying. So initially there was this entire hesitation about even picking up the brush, because, you know, one has been a COO for so long, then how do I, what if I go wrong? But then, you know, just in 15 minutes time, we saw they perfected it. And a new team came out which could connect with artisans, which could talk to artisans directly, and there was a team. So, so what Roshni said was this entire connection of hearts, which happens at CSR level, and the direction that we have is that more of that in future. And I think them coming down, working with us at the ground level, and that's what globalization is about. Roshni, so your mentorship is not limited to HCL Foundation. We know that there is Habitats Trust, there is Shiv Nadar Foundation, and of course, you know, you have been in-house also, and you recently have launched the Entrepreneur Challenge, which of course in India we've read about it. Some of us have been part of the advisory. But then often, and I do ask this question each year, but then each year Shiv Nadar Foundation and the Habitats Trust are also growing under your mentorship. So would you want to give that you know, distinction, yet the oneness amongst these initiatives by you, and where are we heading?
Yeah, so HCL Group has 3 foundations. HCL Foundation, which is, you know, the CSR foundation, the Social Stewardship Foundation of HCL Technologies. So that follows a lot more of the principles which, you know, you would have discussed now regarding the 2% CSR law and, you know, and all those requirements. The Shiv Nadar Foundation was actually founded by Mr. Nadar in 1994. It's the private family foundation. And so there's no connection to HCLTech. And we started with the SSN College of Engineering in Chennai in 1994. Then 2008 or 9 onwards, we had the 2 Vidyagyan schools, the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art, the Shiv Nadar University in Dadri. And then since then, we've also now got 2 more institutions in Tamil Nadu, which is the Shiv Nadar University in Chennai, and the Shiv Nadar School, which is in, you know, in Chennai as well. So, and then the Shiksha Initiative, and there are few programmatic initiatives within the Shiv Nadar Foundation. So, and then there's the Habitats Trust, which was founded by my husband Shikhar and I in 2017 or 18. And that was focused much more on India's natural spaces and indigenous flora and fauna. And that has its own focus, where we tend to focus a lot more on lesser known species, lesser known habitats, technology for conservation. And then of course, you know, there are many synergies with the HCL Foundation as well. So these are just the 3 foundations within the group. What I love about them is actually, I think each one of them has very distinct characteristics. It's a fact. You know, it is not more of the same. I think there's a lot to leverage from each, you know. The Shiv Nadar Foundation institutions, you know, you can start from, you know, preschool and graduate with a PhD. So it's like a all-purpose institutions foundation. Then, you know, you've got the HCL Foundation, which is, you know, across all states, working in so many areas which are urban as well as rural, but with a slightly more focus on urban as far as, you know, Harit and Uday is concerned. Then Samudaya is building this amazing model, which again, you know, takes time, and it's a, you know, holistic village development model. We've been in Hardoi for 6-7 years. Now we're thinking of, you know, doing a project in Tamil Nadu and starting there as well. But even in 6-7 years, I mean, every time I speak to Alok and team, there's so much more to do, because the thing is, there is a lot you have to undo, redo, unlearn, relearn, which is over millennia. It is not over 50, 60 years. So, you know, there are always new challenges presenting itself every day. Then there's the Habitats Trust, which has its own focus. They have its own THT grants, but again, very different in the way we go. We're focusing so much on the coastline of India. And again, then there are synergies with some of the stuff that happens in Harit. But it's very exciting. It's very dynamic as a group as far as social stewardship is concerned, because there's so much happening, you know. And I would like to feel that not only is there so much happening, I think we have amazing leaders and who feel self-empowered. So the great thing is, you know, us as trustees, whether it's Mr. Nadar, Mrs. Nadar, myself, Shikhar, for across, like, we're wanted there, but we're not needed there, which is very important. So, you know, Nidhi wants to have me chat at the partnership meet, but it's good, she doesn't need me. Because I think that's also building resilient institutions. I mean, think about it, right? Founders and trustees or whatever, they're not going to be around forever. We all have a finite expiry date, the day we're born, not decided by somebody else. So I think it's important to build those resilient systems, you know. So empowering each of those institutions, having their own leaders, like the HCL grant and the America's grant. I'm not the chairperson of the grant. We have different structures of the grant, you know, and the idea is to make them much more independent. So we're just there to provide guidance, and that's it. And to let them, I guess, everyone know that they matter. Yeah.
Very well said, Roshni, but I must say you are needed and wanted, both, because while Roshni says that very humbly, you know, we are privileged to be meeting her almost every month, and the review mechanisms that have been set up, they're so meticulous. And that's what yesterday in the CSR session we were like, you know, it's a privilege, and privilege comes on trust. And that, of course, is from bottom up, of course. So it's the tools that you've been using, Roshni, and how you've been able to, you know, nurture them across so many institutions. At times, people come and ask me, what happens? Is there some magic in HCL? So many institutions going on and so smoothly. But we've seen the core very, very closely. One or two fun questions, just so that it doesn't become that heavy. And then Geeta is waiting there. She has certain questions to ask you. Roshni, you traveled a lot this year. This was like one of the ever last 7 years that we've been having this chat. Your favorite memory of all the travels?
Listen, please, yeah. I love the long flights without any kids and husband. Just to sleep. Just to sleep. Okay? That is only the highlight of my travel. Okay? Otherwise, it's just so tiring. Okay? I miss my bed. I miss my... Yeah. No, but it was awesome. Travel teaches you a lot. You get to meet... I mean, so many of our leaders and our people are all over the world. I mean, HCL is present in what? Some 60, 70 countries. So, you know, you get to meet people, you get to go to new places. You don't get to see the place, but you get to meet your people. Yeah, but yeah, my highlight is more flights.
So HCLTech has gone global big ways under Roshni's leadership, and it's 60 plus countries, and America's grant launched now. How was WEF, Roshni? And what is your message from WEF to the civil society here in India?
Honestly, you know, I mean, I think that India is very, very amazingly placed in the global, you know, geopolitics, and you know, as long as we continue being, I think, the fastest growing economy, and we have such a young talent base, I think you all just have to continue doing whatever you're doing, because Um, I think that at a lot of global platforms, there's a lot of rhetoric around India shining. But you work in all those nooks and corners which aren't shining. So, I think that, we don't need to necessarily publicize that, but you need to keep polishing the diamond every day. It doesn't shine just like that.
So it's consistency, and WEFs will happen, but the work that we do at grassroots, that... So I really need to, and I have a time, this thing from MCs. I think Geeta is waiting, and Geeta is our sports scholar who's herself. And I think, Geeta, you should be seated here.
Can we have a huge round of applause for Geeta?
Ask, and I'll come back.
Geethapriya. So Geethapriya has been associated with us for the last 7 years, and she was one of the initial Sports for Change student from Tamil Nadu, and she's now graduated to become a football coach. So that journey has been phenomenal. And Geeta has listed down some questions that she wants to ask Roshni. So over to you, Geeta.
Very much thank you, and very good afternoon, Roshni ma'am and Nidhi ma'am.
बीच में चाय भी आ गई.
And on and all present here. First, I would like to take this opportunity to thank HCL Foundation, because when they have started in the year of 2017, and still I will be part of the HCL. This year is 2024. So this was a great for me to be a part of this team. So, especially I have to thank my HCL mentors, foundation mentors, who guide me and supported in a right pathway. So, where I have been sitting here to next very beautiful Nidhi ma'am and most powerful women in India, Roshni ma'am.
उसको very beautiful मिल गया, मेरे को powerful मिल गया. Me also.
Still, ma'am looking like very young, and she's giving very inspiration thoughts to us also.
Now she's being very nice to me.
So, I came up with question, since I be a part of sports, as a professional coach, I became, so I like to put a question. As a leader, how do you encourage and inspire your team, and what inspired you most to give them work? Like, how do you inspire?
So I said like before, I think the most important thing that you can do, and I mean you're a sports person, so you know this better, is that what you learn in a team is that you need not always lead from the front. You can lead from the back also, and that's okay. You don't have to be always in front. You have to empower your teammates to do their job. So the thing is, every team, and you know football, so you know a striker has a job, a defender has a job, a midfielder has a job, and a goalkeeper has a job. I mean, now as a captain, if you're dancing around and trying to do every job, you're not going to get anywhere. Everybody's got a role to play, and they must be empowered for that. So I think, and I think that is the job of any leader. And sometimes the leader's job is also to get out of their way. That's also very important. So, I think that's extremely important. I think what a team, any team, especially in sports, what it teaches you is failure. And you know, there's a very famous quote, and now I have to look up the quote, because I actually want to tell you guys the quote. It is tremendous. There was this Samuel Beckett, and you guys, some of you would have definitely heard it. It says, ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. I just loved it, because basically what it's telling you is, in life in general, in life also, in work also, I guess you will probably have more failures and more average days, and then very few wins, right? That will change the course. So each time that you fail, just fail better, so that you improve your probabilities of winning. So yeah.
That was amazing quote. I will take back to my journey as well. Whenever I be with a team, I can. So failing is a part of success.
Yeah.
I believe in that.
Yeah.
So I like to have both of the question, to put a question. So as we are going like from extended session, everything, leadership is play an important role in each and every organization who taking a lead of the part of NGO, all those things. So the question is for both only, I want to take. In the Roshni ma'am, how are you building the leadership at grassroots level, especially for women? Because we, in our project, Nidhi ma'am has shared yesterday morning also, most of 100%, 59% is focusing our project is women only, comparing to the men. Women is I. So how we are building the leadership in a grassroots level?
You tell me, how did we build you?
It is through the foundation who supported me back.
No, that's what I said. I said sometimes when people ask me this question direct, my very honest answer is I'm not. I've empowered Nidhi. Nidhi has further empowered you guys to build it on the grassroots level. It is my job to envision and empower. And, it's great that the percentage is 59. We also want to be a foundation. When we talk about gender equality, it doesn't mean all women also. I think that as women in this room, as women in different fields, you have to work with diverse teams. Diverse teams include men also. And, we all have to exist together. So I think that it's important to also recognize balance. And from the grassroots level, I think what we try to do as a foundation, at least if I just reflect on Shiv Nadar Foundation or also, is that, in a 100-meter race against sports, the reason why it's fair in Olympics is because everybody has the same start point. The issue is that I think, and again, this is a problem of millennia. So if people think that you can solve diversity and inclusion over 30, 40 years, it's very difficult to do. Yeah, Anandita is sitting here. We discuss this every quarter. But there are certain mindsets and certain, things which have gotten ingrained, which take very difficult to change. But what we are trying to do at HCL as a group and as a foundation is to make sure that the start point is the same. So, when you're thinking of developing women from the grassroots and how you just want to give them an equal opportunity platform, because we believe that they are equal to anybody else, but they have to have the same start point. Now, you can't tell them that their start point is 300 meters behind and फिर आपको ना equal करना है या आपको first आना है, नहीं हो सकता. So, I think that the effort of the foundations across the board for developing women from grassroots is to get them to the same start point. Because after that, I believe you can do your job. We don't worry about that. Yeah.
Thank you for this answer related to sports also, because during we can't take this everything as a start point, and there is a step to complete the direction also. And thank you so much, ma'am. You valid the answer very well to me, and I take back the Samuel quote along with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You remember his name also. I forgot his name in the second.
So Roshni, about Geeta, she has come from Chennai all the way, and now she's a coach at Sudeva herself. And
Amazing.
She started with us. I met her in 2017. She was like a young girl, but still leadership was there in her eyes, and now she's leading a full team which was dancing on Sikkim music yesterday night. I saw all of them. And
so are you at Sudeva here in Delhi?
She's now picked up coaching, and you're also doing your rural management masters, if I remember correctly. So social work. So now-
Excellent.
Thank you, Geeta. Roshni, can we please ask you to felicitate Geeta?
Sure.
And then we'll open up for questions from the audience. So, Prijo, Piyush, if we can just have quick questions. Huge round of applause for Geethapriya. From a sports student to a coach, football coach. Okay, so Prijo, can we have questions from the audience? Okay.
Hello. I'd like to say one word. When HL started in my school, I was the first child, and now I'm very proud to say I'm a first child for HCLFoundation. So I'll be a part of family with them.
Thank you, Geeta.
Those who mentored me, especially Prijo sir, Newton sir, and when I came to Delhi, I don't know whether the language also, who supported me, Manu sir, Shubham sir, and Joshua sir from Bangalore, and Madurai team.
You know the language now?
I know, no?
You know?
Hindi. Yeah, thoda aata hai.
Very good. When my father moved here, he was 23 years old. And he had never even been to Chennai. He was born and raised in Trichy, Tirunelveli, Tiruchendur, here, there. And then after that, he was at Coimbatore. And then from Coimbatore, first Bombay and then Delhi. And yeah, he learned to speak. He learned to read and write also. So you've got some time to go.
Thank you.
Geeta is also a C licensed coach at Asia Federation. Thanks, Prijo, for that.
Okay, so Prijo, can we have some quick questions now from the audience?
Thank you. Morning, Roshni ji. My name is A.K. Verma, and I have the satisfaction of working for your environmental sector as a consultant. But whenever I'm reading these economists or the Economic Times or about Davos and all those things, and when I find that now you are the chairperson of this huge conglomerate, my mind goes back as to how are you able to balance such a huge oceanic thing, if I may use the word, with these smaller, comparatively, foundation matters, which is so dear to you. How do you, it always, brings some kind of query in my mind. So would you like to probably say something about it?
अभी query है कि doubt है?
Actually, it's
सच बोलो.
Yeah.
आप यहाँ हो तो doubt तो नहीं हो सकता.
Honestly, it is a query. Honestly.
No, thank you so much. Like I said, HCL has been around for 50 years. We're not a new organization. And from the time Mr. Nadar founded it to today, he has empowered so many people around him, not just myself. I can focus on a lot of wonderful stuff which is I'm passionate about and can actually add more value to, because we have an amazing CEO who's coming up to 29 years in HCL. He grew up in HCL. And he started as a young engineer, and today he's CEO. And not just him, I mean our top leadership, and by top leadership I'm not talking about the top 20, 30 people, it'd probably be much more also, in the top couple of thousand people. I mean HCL is a huge universe, we're 250,000 people. It's an engine with lots of leaders very committed to HCL, all of them doing and making an impact to make the wheel move. So I think the wheel doesn't move because of one person. So yeah, I spend time on things where it's not just about passion. I spend time on things where I think I can add more value. So I play the role of the chair. Vijay is the CEO. We've got a lot of corporate leaders. All our leaders, even in the foundations, are all empowered. We don't micromanage them on an everyday. If we are doing a review even monthly, it's much more of an update, and if strategically something comes to mind, I'm not getting into the nitty-gritties of, उस आलोक ने क्या किया और निधि ने क्या किया, भाई वो उनका job है भाई. So I think that it's very important very early on from Mr. Nadar, I think we all learned that the only way that you can create an organization to truly become an institution that outlives its founders and stands the test of time is if you delegate. And I think delegation in empowering is very important.
I'm Dr. Kirti from Vijayawada. I just want to know, you became from youngest to young as a mother, how you are managing in between the rearing of the children and also the work, because many youngsters, those who come to our counseling center, worked as a software engineers or some other jobs, management, but dropping once they got married or once they start the pregnancy. So what kind of a message we have to give for those women to become much more stronger to continue to work, and what kind of an opportunities we can create for such women, balancing between the household chores and the caring and also the work atmosphere. Thank you.
No, I think, you know, firstly, I'd just like to very humbly accept that I don't necessarily represent what most women go through. I have a lot of help at home, and by help I don't mean domestic staff. I mean, my parents live 2 lanes from me, and my husband's parents live 3 lanes from me, and they've been a great support. And I think for women to become successful, they really do need a village of support. It's a fact. You know, I mean, there is just, and that's very important. And I think a lot of women struggle with that. So it's very, I mean, what you're saying is what we face in our organization all the time. We want more women leaders, but there is a natural progression and a natural dropout that takes place. And, you know, and again, we don't know how to change that, because I think this has also been done over millennia. It is not a problem of 30 years and 40 years. You know, it has evolved over a millennia. So there's no clear answer to this. I just go by a couple of principles. Number one, when I was pregnant with both my kids, my doctor was amazing. She said, just remember, you're pregnant, you're not sick. There are 2 different things. Kahan pe jao bhai? You're pregnant or sick thodi na ho? Because everybody will say, don't move, be careful, breathe right, eat this, move like this, move like that. She said, kuch nahi. She says, you're pregnant, you're not sick. Just do whatever you need to do, you know. Just be careful about yourself, right? Again, the beauty is that through millennia, the women, the female body was designed and built to bear kids. And of course, since I'm wildlife crazy and Shantanu knows this, it's like, forget about me, you know, every time you're in the wild, you see a tiger, you see a lion, you see any of these mammals, and I can only refer because we are mammals. Now I can't get into kit-pit and all that stuff, you know. The thing is, they will have like 5 pups or 10, you know, cats, in like little kittens in their belly, but they got to get up every morning and they need to hunt, okay? And they do the hunting. And if you just see that sight, it is the most humbling thing, okay? At that time, when the lioness or a tigress is going to hunt, do you think she's thinking, oh, doctor ne bola tha, nahi hilo, nahi jao, don't do this, don't move like that. Are you kidding me? She's like, I got, you know, so again, like, again, I take a lot of inspiration from the natural world, because I think the natural world is not spoiled the way we are. We are spoiled. We need a car to get to one place from the other. They walk 100 miles. And they've been doing it for centuries. So I think that in the natural world, there is so much which is unspoiled, unassisted, and everybody's figured it out. So I think that, you know, there's no straight answer. For myself, I have a huge, I'm grateful for the huge support that I have. And then again, I mean, going back to the theme of this conference, I think all mothers need to realize, and especially all you women who've already got very grown-up kids, in hindsight, when you reflect, I think children are a lot more resilient than you give them credit for. They're just like, "Theek hai yaar, chal raha hai." And I keep telling my kids are like, I said, like, if mama doesn't work, then you don't get a holiday. I said, you know, so I think that you just, I think children who also grow up seeing their parents work really hard, I've seen that with both my parents, is I think it's also very good values. So yeah, so you got to keep working. Yeah.
So we'll take one last question.
Yes. Roshni, my name is Madhukar. I work with the Premanjali Foundation, NimbleQ. As a leader in industry as well as for NGOs, I have a question regarding that. For example, all the companies have R&D sections. In order to do something new that is forthcoming, which is not prevalent right now, right? So I'm also from the research background. So I always think how we can encourage R&D into an NGO, because they also need to do so much work, a newer work, which they are not doing. We currently do whatever is required on the ground. We don't have any kind of R&D mechanism into the NGO. Is there any vision from you how we can encourage that? I always think that how it could be done.
So I think the interesting areas as far as R&D is concerned, I still think that the best place that this kind of research can take place is if, you know, development organizations and NGOs actually partner with universities. So there is a huge gap here. The huge gap here is, if you look at India, I think that you remove the IITs for a second and the Indian Institute of Science and, you know, NCBS maybe, and some of the top, or BHNS, BNHS, or some of the very top. If you remove the top 10 organizations in India, actually the R&D and research spend in India is very poor, very, very poor. So, I mean, we try to do it in our university. So we're building the country's largest epigenetics lab. And I know Dr. Sanjeev Galande is going to be doing some work with THT for genomes and genetics as far as mammals is concerned. He's done some work in Pune before, I think with elephants. Then I think there's some discussions with HCLFoundation. And so, for example, we have a Shiv Nadar Foundation or a foundation conclave that we do every year. And what we mandated, and these guys are probably going to be a part of it also, HCLFoundation, is that how do we get each of our institutions to actually collaborate with each other? And a lot of the discussions that are happening with the foundation and the higher education is around joint research and actual creating of interesting cutting edge work. Which, when I'm in the US and all, like I sit on the board of the MIT MIT Dean's Advisory Council. You see a lot of, like, for example, urban planning. And there's a lot of research that MIT does with existing in new technologies which are coming in, green energy, and to do with how cities should be planned and how it is. So I think the role of academic institutions is very important.
Yeah, being in US for 20 years, so I've worked at Cornell, other places. Yeah. So that is so much important. Can you set up some kind of collaboration between your universities and we?
So we are doing that. So I think Nidhi is Nidhi, Shantanu, Alok, Rushi, who's the head of our THT. So in many areas we are establishing that. And I mean, what we can do for you is, whoever one of you that's interested, you know, Nidhi can probably connect you to some of the deans of our universities, because I think the best way to actually share the information and to get research going is you need some PhD scholars to get on the field, you know, and get on the field. So if you guys can provide that kind of opportunity, but it of course has to meet certain standards and it has to be a very enriched. And you know, I think a lot of students today, regardless of whichever field you are in, you know, even if you aspire to come into the world of technology, I think data science is very important. And for data science, I think there is no other place like the development world, because the gold mine that you guys sit on is actually data. So, you know, I think that you guys also need to figure out what is going to be your data strategy. You've gathered so much data over the last 40, 50 years of working. Have you actually gone and reached out to some young scholars or PhD scholars, even amongst people? Yeah, you sit and you analyze this data. You tell me what the trend has been. That also helps you actually pivot on what your next strategy should be. You still continue doing what you're doing, but maybe that data will also show some inflection points that happen, which you don't know yet.
A quick one, Anshu.
Yeah. Hi, Roshni. I'm Anshu from HCL Foundation team. Today we talked a lot about leaders and leadership, So my question is, what are the characteristics you see in a leader so that we can start building those characteristics in us?
So like I said, I spend outside Mr. Nadar, but on my every daily life, I of course spend a lot of time with CVK, Vijay, our CEO. I think he's a tremendous leader, and the two characteristics which I really like about him is, number one, he's an amazing listener. So I think leaders should be amazing, amazing listeners. He does. I mean, Nidhi spent a lot of time with him also. He's not necessarily a man of too many words, and actually Mr. Nadar is a lot like that too. It's just listening. And when he's listening, it's not that he's just listening to you. He's listening because I think it's processing. So I think listening is very important, and it's becoming more and more rare. Today, the biggest leader in the world is the guy who shouts the loudest, yeah. And so I think that there are sometimes you need to appreciate the subtle characteristics of leaders a lot more than what you see on the surface. So I think listening, and I think being open, I think is also very important, because sometimes you get very stuck to your points and views, then you're then unable to see around the bend. I've the 2-3 leaders, Mr. Nadar, Vijay, my husband Shikhar, the 2-3 leaders that I've interacted with very closely, otherwise they might have very different personalities. Personalities might be very different. But some of these common threads and some of the subtle common threads, I think is important. So just being a good listener and being open-minded, and not wanting to be or not needing to be the loudest voice in the room. It's okay. Okay.
All right, so with that, we close the Q&A session. Thank you, Roshni. Yet another year, everybody. Yet another PFC, and yet the session which we all thoroughly enjoyed. Let's put our hands together for Ms. Roshni Nadar Malhotra and Dr. Nidhi Pundhir. Roshni, we would also request you to recognize our change makers, like we do every year. We recognize some of the community champions from across the geographies. So to begin with, I would like to invite Dr. Prakriti from Doctors for You team. She's a director in charge for health centers and clinical health at Doctors for You, and who has played a pivotal role during COVID times, and has played a very important role reaching out to 1.2 lakh people for vaccination. I invite Miss Neelama from Harit Upvan, Amarpura. नीलिमा जी, आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे प्लीज आप स्टेज पे आएं. She has been very instrumental, with the land preparation at our Harit Upvan sites. I invite Mr. Ram Lakhan Chaudhary from my clean city. Mr. Ram Lakhan Chaudhary from my clean city. He is the President of Market Association, Kanchenjunga Market, Noida, and he has been playing pivotal role in plastic-free market project in Noida and promoting single-use plastic. I invite Dr. Sampurna Nand, you have already heard him in the first panel session from Samuday. I think Mr. Alok is going to receive. Oh, Sampurna. Sorry, I'm very sorry. And lastly, Mr. Penchung from all the way coming from Sikkim. Penchung, I request you to please be on the stage. The person who is preserving Lepcha language within the community, and as he mentioned during the yesterday's spotlight sessions, so that's his dream. How can he and his upcoming generations would witness the Lepcha language to be preserved and conserved? So requesting all the change makers to please come on stage for a group photo. You can quickly gather on the stage for a group photo.
Then we move on to the Best Practice Guideline Awards, and I would request B. Annamalai Parvati Trust from Madurai to come to the stage, please. Moving on to the Best Practice Award. The first one from Uday is V. Annamalai Parvati Trust from Madurai for their efforts in digital screening and management of non-communicable diseases in Madurai cooperation. The project has screened 97,000 plus individuals in the last 1 year. Then moving on to Harit, Animal Warrior Conservation Society for their work on mitigating impact of ghost net by engaging with local fishermen community. Animal Warrior Conservation Society from Harit. Next from Samuday we have Ucha from Hardoi for their project in productive power for smallholder farmers. Ucha from Hardoi. Last one from HCLTech grant, iHeart India Health Action Trust for their innovation on enhancing data-driven decision making in Shahdol district of Madhya Pradesh. Requesting Mr. Thirumalai to please come on the stage. iHeart.
Can we give all of them a huge round and many congratulations to all the change makers and the best practice winners for year 2024.
And to let you know, an internal subject matter team has carefully deliberated on all of these awards on a predefined parameter criteria, including things such as inclusiveness, sustainability, innovativeness, and evidence-based scientific approach. So huge round of applause for all the winners, and can they gather on the stage for a group photograph?
Can we gather on the stage for a group photo, all the best practice winners?